What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Two Worlds podcast. I'm Jake, and with me, as always, is the Gilbert Godfrey to my Comedy Central roast. It's Casey. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. I was gonna do like a really just like screaming impression, but I'm like, no one needs that.
I'm really glad that you didn't.
There's
But RIP to Gilbert.
it's kind of funny. There's a fitness YouTuber I watch. His name's Greg Doucette, and he sounds like Gilbert Godfrey. Like when you just close your eyes, you're like, oh yeah, he sounds like Gilbert Godfrey. And this other fitness YouTuber did a Gilbert Godfrey cameo and had Gilbert make fun of Greg basically and sent it to Greg. So it's like he's doing Greg's crap as Gilbert because Greg's kind of like over the top his voice to kind of get more views. So it's like he's doing a Gilbert impression basically. So then it's Gilbert doing a Greg. It was pretty funny.
It's a very funny man. Very funny man. But yeah. So before we get started, we did have a YouTube comment from last week, so I want to read that. This was from our good friend Preston, who's chimed in before, and this was in regards to birthday presents for me. So he said the best gift for Jake would be a cameo from James McLeod, and I would love that. Just the choppy animation, but the actual voice actor wishing him a happy birthday. If you want to go comic lore, then I would say Thor would give him a drink like the one that knocked Stan Lee out, which would also be fine with me. He said also the Nightwing dump truck was already mentioned and is the true answer. So thank you, Preston. Appreciate it. So yeah, we'll get into the news. And I'll start off with a small one that happened today. Casey, did you see the Thor Love and Thunder trailer?
I did. I'll be honest too, because I already know you're probably not the most hyped on it. I was underwhelmed. What about you, man?
I mean, there's no room for me to be whelmed in any manner.
Well, the big problem is they let it sit so long without giving us a trailer, and then they do the big reveal. We've seen it all because you've been like, not giving us a trailer for like this should have came out in like January, and then maybe seeing Jane Thor would have been cool. But now it's like we've seen the promo image, we've seen the toys. Guess what? It looks like the promo image and the toys, so it's nothing surprising there. So yeah, it just didn't do much for me. It was just kind of like a few funny jokes and then like cool music. But it is a teaser, so I'm just not teased too well, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looked like Ragnarok, him doing the rope with the big, chains and all that. I'm sure we'll get some workout montage that's hilarious of him losing his weight. I'll say this, Thor himself looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like the best, everything's cool.
And honestly though, this is no workout montage is ever silly. They're all awesome. Even like Balls of Fury when he's learning to be a better at his old ping pong, it's still awesome because montages are just great.
Yeah. I'll say I wasn't that impressed with how Jane Thor looked. I mean,
I thought it looked fine. It just like it looked like the comic book and it looked like the toy. Like what about it didn't impress you? Just you didn't think Jane was beefy enough? Because I didn't get a good enough look to
no, I didn't.
At the beef.
Right, I didn't either. You really just get like the helmet, and I don't know, it just looked like it maybe didn't fit super well. But we get like 2 seconds of it, so maybe it'll be better in the movie. But
I stand behind. They shouldn't have got old Natalie Portman.
I agree.
They should have got old. I think her name's Brooke Entz. I mean, she just looks. I mean, she's juiced to the gills, but she looks like a female Thor.
Well, and Natalie just didn't deserve it after shitting all over it. So
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, your turn, buddy.
While we're on the subject of trailers, I'll mention the old Shin Ultraman. We got a new Shin Ultraman trailer. We got like it's seemed almost like two, because like one person reported on it, and then like a couple days later, the other one's like, we got another new one. But they're not that different, so it's not, but it's just a lot of Japanese talking, so you don't really know what's going on. But you get to see some some Shin Ultraman stuff. Like the special effects look pretty cool, but also kind of cheesy at the same time. Like, because I think that's the feel they're going for. It's not like a Shin Godzilla where it's going to be, very serious. I think this one's going to be kind of more on the hokey side, which I'm fine with. It looks pretty great. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
I mean, if you get any free time at the shop, I'd say check it out, because I think you would still, like, even though you're not like the biggest tokusatsu guy, I think you'd still be like, this actually looks pretty cool.
Oh, dude, I think almost all of it looks cool. It's just a matter of, like getting into like a whole other thing.
Yeah, like that's the nice part about this Shin related stuff, is it's kind of like standalone. So if you are the type of person that's like, I've always wanted to get into Ultraman or Godzilla or whatever, like this is kind of like the gateway drug into that, I think.
Yeah.
So if you leave there going, I didn't really like that, you probably wouldn't really, odds are you wouldn't like the other. So
Right. Okay. Um, keeping up with like show stuff. We have our Wonder Twins casted, Casey, in KJ Appa and Isabel May. I think KJ Appa was Archie in the Riverdale show.
okay.
But Isabel May, I'm not familiar with.
I mean, I didn't watch enough of the Riverdale, but as far as the dudes look, I can see it. I didn't know Riverdale was Dunzo though. I thought that was still going on.
It could be. I have no idea. I've never watched it.
Yeah. I watched a little with Brie. That was about it. So this was like a little brief thing. I don't know if this is going to affect you at all as a shop owner, but Savage Avengers has been pushed back to May 11th. I'm actually kind of excited about this book. So that's
The
disappointing.
team's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. Like the other team was awesome too. And it's really just like Conan and Marvel. Like that's his book, But yeah, I'm pretty interested. I think it'd be fun if they also introduced the Predators and Alien into it too. Like that's how they just toss them into, like, might as
Dude,
well.
Conan and Black Knight and all the like Cloak and Dagger fighting predators would be so awesome.
Right?
That could be the "we don't know what to do with these things we own" book.
Yeah. Like Anti-Venom's there, like Flash Anti-Venom, which it's like that's wonderful. Like this,
Right.
it's like the new book of just characters that they're like, we own them, might as well use them.
Right. Well, keeping up with bad news in comics, we had some cancels that popped up this week. And they're all together, so I'll just go through all these here. So the first one DC canceled was the Ezra Miller Flash movie prequel comic. So I don't know what that says for the movie, but that's done. Any thoughts on that?
Nothing yet, because it's like, just because that's been canceled, it might not have anything really to do with the movie, might have a lot to do there, because like the Discovery merger happened, so it's like it very well could just be crap going on internally that has nothing to do with anything else. Them just going, we don't need this because no one reads that stuff.
Right. So the next one then is Aquaman. So they claimed that it was always going to be 6 issues, and that they didn't want to solicit it that way because then people wouldn't have picked it up. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But
I could see that being true too, though, with all of the stuff going on with Justice League now being like they're all gonna die. So this is kind of like them just giving it to Jackson being the new Aquaman type thing. I can, that checks out to me.
right. And then this last one is that Tom King Dangerous Street series, which is where he was going to use like all those C and D list characters in that 12 issue series. I think this will still happen because it's Tom King. They'll let him do this eventually. It's probably just getting delayed.
Yeah, that one, that's the shocking one of the bunch because didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
All right. So since you mentioned old Ezra, this is gonna be Ezra news. I need like to come up with a dumb little thing for Ezra Watch 2022. But so some news broke out about them that the people whose house he broke into that were filing a restraining order have dropped all charges.
Interesting.
So there's some conspiracy nuts that are like, honestly, very far Zack Snyder fanboys to the point where even if Ezra like murdered somebody and like had blood on their hands and they were like, I did it, me, Ezra Miller, they'd be like, that's Warner Brothers, really. Like they cannot, see any of these people doing any wrong. But they were like, Warner Brothers could have been paying these people off to, say this stuff about Ezra to make Zach look bad. But it's like, if anything, Warner Brothers would pay them off to drop the charges to make Ezra look better because they have a lot of money in Ezra.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of leaning to, is like they got a nice wad of cash to drop everything.
Right. I mean, I think that makes the most sense. They finished this movie, they want to put it out, so let's make them look as good as we can.
Yep. Or maybe, heck, maybe Ezra just came to them and was like, hey, I messed up, I apologize. And they're like, no harm, no foul, just pay for our legal fees and we'll call it good. Deal. And then they just went about their ways. Maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. So this was whatever, but it deals with the industry. So Dan Didio is going to be running Frank Miller's new publishing business. I don't really have any other info on that. I assume it's comics, maybe it's mixed media stuff, who knows, but good for Dan, good for Frank, I guess.
I mean, I'm just going to say this. Dan did a lot of things very poorly with DC. I wouldn't have him be the head of anything comic related.
I'm sure he and Frank were buddies. Dan let him do, more Dark Knight stuff and whatever. So
yeah. And then like in Frank's thing, everyone's gonna get rebooted and they're gonna, I don't know, do other stupid stuff. And it's just like Frank's like, what are you doing? Okay, so this was moderately interesting. And if anyone's like, clamoring to hear the rest of the creative teams, I'll look it up really quick. But Kevin Conroy is writing a story for DC's upcoming Pride comic. It's going to be called Finding Batman. And then we also, we got the rest of the lineup. Most of them I wasn't overly interested in, but I wrote down 2 names that I'm like, oh, I might have to get this, because it's Devin Grayson and Alyssa Wong will both be in it. I love both of them. So that's like, I might have to check that out, unless it's like $10, because it's still an anthology book.
It will be. It will be, hands down.
If it's a slow week for sure. But it does annoy me that Kevin, like, I love Kevin Conroy, but the fact that he gets a story in this and he's never written a day before, it's like, maybe give it to another creator.
But this is the place for that to happen, though. They're not going to give Kevin Conroy a full 6-issue mini. They'll let him have his one little snippet in here.
Yeah, that's true. But still, it's like, there's plenty of, I'm assuming there's plenty of queer creators that normally can't get it through the door. And then, the most iconic Batman, it just automatically gets to because he's the most iconic Batman.
And also, is it about Batman?
I'm assuming, I'm gonna bet, since it's called Finding Batman, it's probably like a little bit about him, kind of like how that one story was about Denny O'Neil, like his son, and like when Denny O'Neil's death. That's what I'm assuming, since it's called, like I said, Finding Batman. It's probably him dealing with all of his traumas that because I was listening to him on a podcast one time talking. It's like, boy, I never would have guessed you had such a rough time, bud.
Right. Okay. Yes. So I was looking at the upcoming DC solicitations for July that just dropped, and there were a couple titles that I want to talk about. Um, the first one is Batman the White Knight presents Red Hood, which I think is interesting that Sean Murphy is just like getting this whole White Knight universe. It's pretty cool. And his art is so good that all of it just looks awesome. I need to read that one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, then the other two, one is called DC Mech, and that one's written by Kenny Porter and art by Baldemar Rivas. And that is at the end of World War II, Earth was invaded by giant mechanized parademons from a planet called Apocalypse. Earth's protectors, the Justice Society of America, were devastated. And with them, the age of superheroes came to an end while the era of the mech began. In the ensuing years, the world has stockpiled colossal battle suits piloted by elite warriors, waiting for the day Apocalypse returns. But when Kal-El, the last son of a dying world, crash lands in Metropolis with his own war suit, he'll face down two of Earth's finest mech fighters, the Flash and Batman. So there's that one. Sound neat to you?
Sounds interesting, yeah.
And then the other one I wanted to mention was Superman Space Age. And this is written by Mark Russell of One Star Squadron fame. And the art is done by Mike Allred. So
that sounds like a match made in heaven.
This says, meet Clark Kent, a young reporter who just learned that the world will soon come to an end, in parentheses, crisis on infinite Earths, and there is nothing he can do to save it. Sounds like a job for his alter ego, Superman. After years of standing idle, the young man from Krypton defies the wishes of his fathers to come out to the world as the first superhero of the space age. As each decade passes and each new danger emerges, he wonders if this is the one that will kill him and everyone he loves. Superman realizes that even good intentions are not without their backlash, as the world around him transforms into a place as determined to destroy itself as he is to save it.
I'd be all about that. I mean, as soon as you said that creative team, I'm like, yeah, you won me over.
Yeah, it should be cool. So, yeah, I thought it sounded neat, and I thought all of you should hear it too.
Okay, so we are getting, not just you and me, but like the comic book world as a whole are getting new creative team on Detective Comics, and I'm pretty excited about this. It's Ram V and Raphael Albuquerque, and then Cy Spurrier is doing the backup stories. And oh man, super cool. It was kind of funny because before he announced that it was gonna be Detective Comics, he just was saying, he just like posted this little teaser, and everyone was complaining because it just looked like he was gonna get just to do a new Batman book. And so everyone's like, oh, of course you just get another Batman book and all this stuff. And it's like, if Ram V's gotten to the point now, if he wants to do a Batman book, he just gets to do a Batman book. That's gonna make money.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's because people are complaining because like we're gonna get to the round robin, and like these things in the round robin, these creators and the things they're trying to create won't make near as much money as a Batman book or a Ram V book or a Ram V Batman book. It's just common sense.
Right. No, I'm very happy for him. He totally deserves this. And he got one of the best artists to ever do it to work with him. So yeah, I cannot wait to read this.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And I'm really hoping Cy is great in the backup. I'm hoping. Because like this, despite Black Knight, I think he can still be. I know your expectations are at like a -3, but there's still goodwill for him out there. So I'm hoping it, from this backup, he starts building up his reputation with you now.
I mean, since I'll have it, I'll try the first one. But if it's bad, then I'll do like I've done with the Punchline one and just not read it. So
yeah. My favorite thing about the Punchline one is like Everyone, you're like, I didn't read it. I didn't read it. Then like randomly, you're like, actually, I read it. I didn't like it because I didn't know what was going on.
Look, sometimes I get a wild hair and
Yeah.
you just want to read it. I've just got one more thing.
Okay.
So let's
I'm
say
gonna.
you want to do the round robin stuff last.
I was gonna do the round robin stuff last. Yeah, I got
Okay.
this really stupid one that I'm like genuinely so hyped for. I've never played a Call of Duty game except for like one of the really early ones, but there's gonna be a Call of Duty Godzilla crossover, and I'm gonna open up the link now because like they have a whole trailer and stuff. It's like basically I'll find the thing because it's here's the synopsis. Call of Duty has announced and launched gameplay trailer for their latest season of Classified Arms cinematic for Call of Duty Vanguard and Warzone. I don't know what any of this means. Call of Duty Warzone takes place in 1944 during events of World War II. The conflict centers on Caldera Islands following the December events of Operation Vulcan, a task force launched to hunt down Axis soldiers and powers whom fled the South Pacific. The task force assigned this mission are shot down by anti-air weaponry, crashing on the island, as well as both separated and stranded. Ultimately, through progressing events, it's discovered that the Nazis had secretly developed a powerful chemical bomb dubbed Nebula V. Storming a Nebula V housing Nazi stronghold within the higher mountain regions, the task force unfortunately fails in stopping the widespread launch of Nebula V bombs in time, resulting in the events of the Nazis awakening Godzilla and unleashing a Titan disaster.
Dude, you could just hear the excitement.
Like, I mean, how can you not be hyped for that? So, like I said, I've not played Call of Duty since like maybe the second one that came out for Xbox 360, whatever that was called. But yeah, I'm super hyped for this.
I hope it's awesome. Certainly could be.
Are you gonna check it out since you are the video game boy of this group?
I might.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on how things go, maybe we could do a let's play on Twitch with the two of us or something.
I barely know what that is, but let's do it.
It's people watching us play the game on Twitch.
Don't think we could, because even though we're best friends, we're rival factions.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Actually, can you even, because PC Master Race now, so you could, right? That's because there's cross-platform that way, just not with Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe that's something we could do. That'd be fun. Fingers crossed that it's like a campaign story-driven thing and not
that's what
like...
I'm hoping. I don't want to deal with other people.
Yeah.
But okay, so DC is bringing in Supergirl's character Dreamer into the DC universe. She's going to appear in Superman Son of Kal 13. Nicole Maines, who played her on Supergirl, is going to co-author it, which again, this is like my same complaint with Kevin Conroy. It's like she's not a writer. She just played the character. And so, I mean, I get, since she is transgendered, so she's, helping maybe get that part correct, maybe, but it's like Tommy T knows how to write. He doesn't need the added help, but whatever.
Right.
But that's one that people should keep their eyes on, as far as, probably getting a key issue.
Right.
And then this got announced today, but a website called Zoop is doing a Comics for Ukraine anthology comic, with all proceeds going to Ukrainian refugees. It features stories by Kurt Busiek and Brent Anderson. It's from their Astro City comic. And then we also get John Layman and Rob Guillory doing a Chew, Walt Simonson doing Star Slammers, Stan Sakai doing Usagi Yojimbo, Howard Shaken doing a American Flag, Matt Wagner doing Grindel, Mark Evener and Sergio Aragones doing Gru, Jill Thompson doing Scary Godmother, Louise Simonson and June Brigham are doing a new original story, Dave Gibbons and Chris Sprouse doing an original story, Emil Ferris short story, and Mark Wade and Gabriel Rodriguez doing a brand new story to be determined. There's also like a ton of like additional stuff, a bunch of different hardcover. Like the main cover is going to be an Alex Ross cover, but then like different tiers, you can get different things. Like Art Adams is doing a cover, all this different stuff. There's shop stuff. So if you're like, hey, I want to get these for my shop, they have that too. All this stuff. I'm probably gonna get it. I don't know like any of these things, but I'm like Mark Waid doing a fun story plus more Chew. That's pretty exciting.
I'm sure that alone was enough for you.
And that's actually how I first heard about it. Like, because I follow John Layman and he posted about it. And like he posts, his Twitter's locked now, but he posts like just weird random stuff. So I'm like, this is probably BS. Like he's just making something up. And then like he actually posts a link like, oh wow, it's a real thing.
Right. All right. My last thing is DC is going to have a complete overhaul before the sell-off. They said that they are looking for a Kevin Feige type person to keep everything, quote, more harmonious. So, we've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but now it's like pretty much official. So I don't really have anybody in mind for this role that they want. I just hope that they get the right person. And honestly, it's probably the right move.
It's just like, I don't know how you can do it and do it well, because they want to keep like the Black Adam movement going. They want to keep going with the Suicide Squad stuff. It's like, honestly, you need to either just like, I mean, maybe finish out this crap and then just maybe focus on like the Matt Reeves verse. Have Matt Reeves just do his universe, have him be, just be like, here's a wad of cash, keep your, dark emo stuff, but then like come up with ways that Superman can be in there. You can just get producer credit and make sure they stay true to your voice. You pick out your director, blah, blah, blah. But we want it all to be in this universe now because this one's making lots of money. Whereas like Suicide Squad, even though critics liked it, didn't make a lot of money, partially, probably majority due to the pandemic. And then like Black Adam's gonna make money because it's The Rock, but still it's Black Adam. Suicide Squad and Black Adam, you can't really build a universe around. But if you do a Matt Reeves Batman universe with Superman also in there, you can build around that. I think that'd be the way to go.
I really want Zachary Levi to keep doing Shazam.
Yeah.
He deserves a role like that, and I want him to have it.
Yeah, I agree, man. But
all that's left is Aquaman. Like, I don't know if Jason Momoa would want to keep going, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Jason Momoa just like, even though he seems like he didn't enjoy the Joss Whedon stuff, it just seems like he enjoys everything because he's just such a happy seeming guy.
Right. Oh, I'd love to be friends with him.
Same. It's just like he's the energy guy. It's like a party's about to die. He comes up, everyone's like, yes, it's Jason.
I know, right? Like everything he posts, he's just like, he's family with everybody.
Yeah.
And I just love that. So yeah, we'll see what comes from that. Hopefully something good.
I did see though where Discovery, they have enough brain power to be like, Warner Brothers, you guys are idiots for not trying to push Superman more. And they're trying to they do want more Superman. So hopefully they know Henry Cavill is, still out there.
Please, please.
But we'll see. Okay, so last bit of news is the Round Robin 3. So moving on, we have Constantine and the Demon Vacation from Hell, written by Frank Allen and artist is Nick Varela. Suicide Squad Dark, writer is Zach Thompson and artist Gary Brown. Green Lantern, Light at the End of Forever, written by Cy Spurrier and Marco Santucci. And then Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow by Kenny Porter and artist Janoy Lindsay. And so there's some drama with this last one because when Green Lantern beat out the Ghost Tour from Hell, DC was like, yeah, there's some fake votes, so we got rid of them. And the person, I'll find her name.
It's T. Franklin.
Okay, T. Franklin. Yeah, I remember that because when I typed in spilling the tea in our notes, like that's actually really funny. But T. Franklin got very upset about that. And she was talking about how they've rigged it, how it's not fair and blah, blah, blah. And they're, it's not fair that they're doing it this way and, all this other stuff. And like they worked their butts off. And it's just like, I mean, it's not fair that you had to go against the Green Lantern book when this is like a lot of people are doing like these weird characters, and then like Sai just is like, nah, Green Lantern, like that is not fair. But to talk about the votes and all this other stuff, and like you're sounding, like you're saying the votes are fixed and all this other stuff. It's like, that's not how it is. Come on.
Right.
It's not. And then like on her Twitter, it just made me like kind of go like, man, this person is just the worst. Because then she's like, I'm disabled and I'm a person of color. It's like, no one's saying you're not. It doesn't mean this is good.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like this
like you
isn't
said,
a
man,
draw.
it's GL. You're not going to
Yeah.
beat Green Lantern with most characters,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's like last time getting mad that like the Justice League Queer, I think is what it was called, lost to Robins in the first round. It's like, yes, a Bat book won. They need to do these round robins better, where it's like main like A-list characters aren't involved. That's how you
Which
have to like.
I think you and I both want that too.
Yeah, I think most DC fans do, but I don't think DC wants that because they know that won't sell as well. Because like you're not going to, that question book isn't going to, Renee Montoya questions not going to be bringing in a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But so, and then like Sai, after T was just, throwing her temper tantrum like a child, Sai actually was like, I'm not going to talk about, anything about the votes or anything like that, but I will just say at the end of the day, we all got paid for our pitches. All these people got paid. So you can't be that mad.
Yeah. And actually, I saw some more stuff on T. Were you going to mention this?
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay. So I think it was announced yesterday that she's going to be, or they.
I thought it was she. I don't know.
Okay. She will be writing a new Harley Quinn book for DC now.
Okay. Well, I guess if you cry loud enough, you get your way.
Right. So T wrote the Harley Quinn animated Eat Bang Kill Tour book that was like an actual really big hit.
Yeah, you liked it. You liked the first issue, right?
Yeah, no, it was totally fine. I just didn't have to like keep up with it. So we don't know if it's going to be like Eat Bang Kill Volume 2, if she's going to take over the main Harley series. Maybe she'll get a Black Label book. We have no idea. It's just she will be getting something Harley related. So even if the one didn't work out, she still knew this was going to happen. So I don't know. It just kind of sours me on everything,
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, just having that type of attitude about something, it's like, it's clear she never played a sport in her life. It's like, I mean, I would love to see her fill out, I don't do college basketball stuff, but it's love to see her fill out a bracket for college basketball and then be really upset when her team loses. Like, this isn't fair. They scored more points than them.
Yeah, T, that's how it works.
It's like, but this one had a bigger number next to the name. That was just a 1. This is a 32. They should have won. Like, no, it's the seeding. 1 is the best.
Man. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the news. So now we will take our ad break and we'll be back to talk comics. So we'll be right back. Take it away, Casey. I believe you had a topic for today.
I do. So the other day I was on Twitter and someone posted this comic strip of George R. Binks. That's Jar Jar Binks's father. And basically he's got a gun to his head. And then it goes, this person tries to stop him, like, hey, don't do it. Think of your son. He thinks of his son and just shoots it. And so then people in the comments like, oh, you didn't even post the best part. It grazes his head, and then he thinks about his lost love and all this stuff. So that's how I'm like, is this real? Wikipedia I would say like the number one source for Star Wars stuff. Would you agree?
Yes, it's where I spent all of my online time when I was in middle school.
So the he actually has his own thing. So like he is canon to the Star Wars universe, because it's like we were talking about beforehand. I think George Lucas doesn't give a shit about what's canon and what's not canon until he just decides to do whatever the fuck he wants. And so like this just fell through the cracks. And so George R. Binks, and I'm going to read about him for y'all because his story is so funny to me. And then we can just talk about it if you want, or you can just go, wow, this is something we learned, and then move on. But George R. Binks was an Ottila Gungan whaler who operated and resided in Naboo. He was the owner of Binks & Son Whaling Company, continuing the profession that had been practiced by his ancestors for hundreds of years. He was, through an unhappy marriage, the father of Jar Jar Binks, who would go on to serve as the Channel Sector's representative in the Galactic Senate. On a whaling voyage with his wife and son, Jar Jar Binks encountered an aggressive whale. Thanks to numerous poor navigation choices by Jar Jar, the whale crashed into the ship, causing it to sink. After this incident, the Binks family found themselves shipwrecked on a desolate island for over a month. During this time, prompted by his annoyance at his son's constant clumsy behavior, Binks unsuccessfully attempted to commit suicide. And so then, I gotta find where it talks about suicide. That's just at the beginning of his thing. So when he tried to commit suicide, he then thinks back to the woman that he loved. And she's there and they talk, but then he gets awoken by Jar Jar, and it's just kind of like, oh, but the woman that he actually loved, not the woman that fathered his terrible son, he was like, oh, I love you, we're going to get married. But then he found out that she couldn't father his son. So then he left her for this woman, who then made Jar Jar, which makes it all the more worse.
I mean, this just screams somebody at Dark Horse got to write whatever they want.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that this is current Disney Marvel canon.
I mean, I think it's going to be until they make Jar Jar into like a Sith Lord or whatever, because it doesn't work that way. But it's just so funny. This is what he looks like, George R. Binks, or George R. Binks.
He looks like a colonial
Gungan.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, that's the tragedy of George R. Binks. It's not something the Jedi would teach you.
I mean, give me the Disney Plus series, honestly.
Dude, how great would that be? Like a Gungan Moby Dick, where his white whale is his terrible fucking son.
And he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's just like, gosh, need to get this whale. And then you just have like Jar Jar going, goose me so do so help the dad, and he just keeps doing stuff to mess everything up.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. All right, folks, welcome back. If you would like to hear Casey and I talk about some hilarious Star Wars stuff, then go check out our YouTube channel. That's Two Worlds Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, I think you might learn about a new character, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I did. So, all right, Casey, what comics did you read this week?
I'm gonna be honest, it was a little bit of a disappointing week for me. I don't know about you.
That's too bad.
But I read Town Called Terror, #1, Elektra, #100, Nocterra, #9, Farmhand, 16, Kaiju Score, #1, Batman Urban Legends, #14, just the question story. Like everything else is like part 4 of 6, part 3 of 9, that type of stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna even try. Batgirls, #5, and Flashpoint Beyond, 0. Jake decided
You're
we're
welcome.
reading.
And you loved it?
I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it wasn't good. What'd you think?
That was pretty much how I felt about it too. The art was good.
Yeah, it was.
I read Norse Mythology #3, Flashpoint Beyond 0, Batgirls #5, and Immortal Red Sonja #1. I finally got on the Red Sonja train.
Are you staying on, or are you going? See you.
I'm staying on. It was awesome.
Nice, dude. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a town called Terror #1. This is by Steve Niles and Seisman Kudransky. And this is actually a really good first issue. Like, I don't really know what's going on, but it's like enough to intrigue. The art in it is like really dark and pretty cool. This dude's living his best life, having marital intercourse with his wife when these people come in and break down the door and kidnap him. Then he's just like, guess my dad wants to see me. And he's very unfazed by it. And then it's just like, oh, well, that's the thing. And his wife doesn't know what the heck's going on though. And she's just like, people came into our house, kidnapped my husband. And the cops are like, there's literally no sign of any of this happening. You have security camera footage that shows nothing. You crazy lady, And then it's like, turns out that the husband's a monster, demon, maybe type of thing. And he was just trying to get away, but he got found. It's actually pretty interesting. I'm going to hopefully stay on for the next issue, but it's also not like the most grabbing thing I've read. I think it's going to be a slow burn type of story. So yeah, I'm going to give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. Norse Mythology #3. It's written by Neil Gaiman and P. Craig Russell, and art by Colleen Duran. So this continues the story of the death of Balder, one of the more popular Norse mythology stories for sure. So I had known this one for quite a while. It was still cool to see it done in this manner. And it looks like there's going to be one more part because it ends in a weird spot where Loki is just kind of laughing to himself, thinking he got away with it. And that never happens in Norse mythology. So, but it was cool. The art's really good. And you just can't go wrong with this type of story. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Right on, man. Okay, so next up is Elektra 100. And this has got a whole, like, the main story is by Ann Nocenti and Sid Koshian on the art. And then we have a bunch of others backup stories. I'm going to see if there's a page that just that lists them all, because I mean, that would make sense, but it's Marvel, so they probably don't have that. But the main story is a Typhoid Mary Elektra story, and I'm not the biggest Typhoid Mary fan. And it's like, she gave Elektra way too hard of a time. Like, I think it just did it, like, for a book that's supposed to, like, build up Elektra, in my opinion, this kind of did a disservice to her. So it's kind of a letdown that way. We get a bunch of covers then after that. And then it cuts to this other story called The Waltz, and it's by Declan Shalvey and Stefano Raphael on the art. And the art in this one's really good. It's just Elektra and Matt preparing for a dance. And they show up on top of a building, and then they just start like fight dancing. And, it's like really close. And then she stabs him, and then she's like, better, need more practice. And he kind of, smiles, and it's like, oh, so cute. They're both so loving, but they also are psychopaths. Then we get a Mini Marvels by Chris Giarusso, and Mini Marvels is great, period. And this one's just as great, but I wouldn't say it's worth the whole, $4.99 of this issue, but it's probably the best part. Because you have Elektra with like joining the temporary Daredevil group, or the Daredevils, or Daredoubles is what it's called. And so it's got Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Iron Fist. And then Bullseye's like, I'm in the team too. And then they're like, no, you're not. And because he's a bad guy. And so then Elektra, he's like, you should call yourself the Daredevil. He's like, why not? Just because I'm a psychotic villain? You should call yourselves the Daredevil Standards. And she's like, sounds like you're the real victim here, Bullseye. She's like, finally somebody gets it. Then Black Panther's like, how? And then Spider-Man's like, of what is Bullseye the victim, Elektra? And then Iron Fist's like, yeah, Elektra, of what? Slip and fall accident. And he's like, huh? And she pushes him off the building. And they're like, great daredeviling, Elektra. Can she be our leader? That's just wonderful.
That's awesome.
Then we get some like ninja super stories featuring Fantastic Reader Richards, and that one's kind of okay. And then You get some Maddie and Stick, which is Calvin and Hobbes, and then you get like a Dagger, which is I think like a Gru ripoff type of thing, and that's about it. And it's like I said, perfectly fine. The best part was that Chris Jeruso part, but otherwise, it's really just very much a pass. Like I would not recommend this to Elektra fan because it's like, yeah, going toe to toe with Typhoid Mary for a whole issue is not something that I had too much fun with. So yeah, it's probably like a 4 for me.
And also, like you said, no Frank Miller.
Yeah, that's still just the weirdest dang thing. Like at least have a nice little page where it's him talks about her. You know,
Yeah,
just like one little page. That's
for
all you
sure.
needed. All right. I'll get into Nocterra because I have a little bit more than you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel. Pretty awesome action scenes in this. You know, Blacktop Bill is crazy. They're fighting a bunch of monsters. Stuff is really cool. The action scenes are really cool. There's a little bit too much just them talking back and forth, especially when you're trying to fight. It takes you really out of it whenever people are like having full length like pages of dialogue story, dialogue when they're fighting for their lives from monsters. It's like I don't think you guys would do that. That seems pretty off, but what do I know? But it's still pretty enjoyable. This book is pretty solid. Blacktop Bill is just such a cool, I guess I'm gonna still say he's a villain. I mean, he had a bunch of little kid monsters in the back of his truck. He's a villain, but he's a really cool one. So I'm probably at a 8 for that.
Okay. All right. So next for me is Immortal Red Sonja #1. And this is written by Dan Abnett. And the art is by Alessandro Miracolo. And I want to point out the cover by DNA.
That's awesome.
She might have a fatter butt than even Nightwing. Maybe.
I mean, we've never seen Nightwing in shorts like that, though.
True.
Now we need to.
I know. So yeah, at first I was like, why'd they give her this new look? Where's the bikini? Why is she wearing this chainmail shirt? And it turns out it's part of the story. So she's riding along and she stops at this old man's house and he gives her food and shelter and stuff. He's like, all in exchange for your story. So she tells it, and turns out that she was just collecting treasure in a certain spot and found this cool scale shirt and put it on, but it was cursed. And now she can't take it off until she breaks the curse. And that is to basically like bring back the king that it belongs to, so he can get resurrected, which I thought was pretty neat. It shows her like trying to take it off and it's just stuck to her skin and it like tears her skin, makes her bleed.
Shoot.
So it was pretty neat. But anyway, it turns out, spoiler alert, that the old man is actually like a big old goblin whose job it is to keep this scale shirt out of the kingdom because he's like right on the border. So there's this big fight between Sonja and the goblin. And second spoiler, Sonja wins because she's awesome. And then she hops on the horse and keeps going down the path. And then we see who I assume she'll be fighting very, very soon, which is just a crazy cool looking armored dude on top of an armored horse. So this book was cool. There was magic, there's sword fighting, there's a big fight with a gigantic orc, cursed armor. I mean,
Redheads.
you know me, Casey. This is everything I want. So it was freaking awesome. I want to give it a 10 out of 10. This is like, I don't want to say the best thing I've read from Dan because, since Justice League Odyssey, because that was the last thing I read of his, but it's like, it's up there with that. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, when you said Dan Abnett, I was a little worried because I had the assumption that he could only write space stuff because Nova was really good and then Justice League Odyssey was really good, but then like Hercules was not good. So I was like, hope it's good for you, bud. But I'm glad it was.
Yeah, thankfully he's not trying to like reinvent Sonja here. He's
Yeah,
just like writing her as she should be.
yeah,
So very cool. Cannot wait for more.
right on, man. And we've talked about this before, but it's like Sonya is one of those characters where I'm like, how have you not gotten into her sooner? Because it's just like it's everything you want in like a normal comic, and then you also add in like a red-headed woman, which is also everything you want. So
I know, man. Like I said, the last time was just they brought her to modern times, and I can't do that. So thankfully, this was not that.
Right on, man. Okay, so next up, it's Farmhand, and this is by Rob Guillory. And yeah, this was good. I mean, like it's crazy. This has had a 2-year hiatus. It's still pretty solid, though.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I read that back, and then he's like, a 2-year hiatus was not in my plans. I'm like, wow, I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the main downside. It's the same problem I had when Saga came back. It's like, if you're gonna take that long of a hiatus, you really kind of need to, like harken back to some of these things. And he does a better job than Saga did, but still, it wasn't, great because like so much crap happened in those, issues before this. But it's still pretty good. It's still like, it was kind of a letdown, but it's still good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I'd still recommend it to people, and I'm excited to read this all when it's collected. And next time I'm at a con that Rob's at, I am gonna buy a Farmhand shirt because I think they're super cool. But something
I'm glad that he got to keep going with it after that long.
Yeah, and I mean, there was talks at a time of like it getting auctioned off for like show stuff. So I hope that still happens too, because I think it can make a wicked cool show, bro. But
right.
Next up is Kaiju Score by James Patrick and Rem Brew. Kaiju Score is Steal from the Gods #1. And I loved the first thing of Kaiju Score. And I'm hoping to love this series, but this issue sucked. Because it's just, dude, it's so much like the main girl from the last one being like, I'm not doing any big jobs ever again. I'm doing these little jobs where I make money and I'm staying safe. I'm not doing too much, but this is a Wild West out there. And like, that's kind of like the concept over and over again. And like, this guy comes through like, hey, I got a big job. And then she's like, I'm not doing big jobs. My gardener has got a gun on you, so you can't even force me to do this big job because I planned ahead. And he's like, oh, okay, bye. And then someone tries to kill her. And then she's like, guess what? I'm doing a big job. Doing this big job because I need the money. It's a Wild West out there.
Wow.
Yeah, the art's pretty good in it, but yeah, it's just kind of just like, oh boy, I hope this gets better.
Maybe it'll get a lot better come the story actually happening.
Yeah, like this is just like that's what I'm hoping, because like it really just very much seemed like we need to come up with a way to bring them back into this. So I'm hoping it gets better, but right now I'm at like a 2 out of 10 because it was rough.
Worst book of the week?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm gonna like this one, I'm not gonna give a proper rating to. I'm just gonna rate the question story, because like I said, I didn't read any other ones, but this is by Ryan Caddy and Giuseppe Camincoli on the art. At first, I always want to talk about how they do this in here. The Incident Report by Ryan Caddy, Crime Scene Photography by Giuseppe Camincoli and Cam Smith. I'm like, that's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
But yeah, so Question and Batman are teaming up to figure out the spending that's going on, Wayne Enterprises, and questions like Bruce isn't good. Like, he keeps saying that. And like Batman's like, I can trust him, you can trust him. And Vic's like, I don't think so, And then like finally Bruce, and also first off, we get the blue Batman. That's the best Batman. That's
totally agree.
That's just the best design. But he then finally like unmasks himself, and he's like, because Vic, I am Bruce Wayne. Because I like to think his voice changes when he goes to Bruce Wayne. And Vic's like, oh, checks out. And then they do this whole thing. They do the team up. They beat them all up, and then Batman's like, "But next time you decide to work a case in Gotham, leave Bruce Wayne out of it." And then Vic's like,
Dude, you have to stop.
I think people enjoy it. In the comment section, tell us if you like my Batman impression, and I'll keep doing it. But Vic goes, "I was wrong about Wayne, all right. Not an ulterior motive to be seen. But I had to do my due diligence." And it cuts to his like notepad, and it says in black, "Batman is Bruce Wayne. It took a conspiracy theory to prove it." And then he puts underneath it, "And he can be trusted. But Batman really is exactly who he seems to be." I'm like, that's awesome.
That is cool.
I love that.
So is it just a one and done?
Yeah, that's the only downside. But it's like I would read a million more books. Like if that guy made my question series of like, yeah, this is Vic, this is Renee. They both like punching guys and kissing ladies. Like if he made that book, I'd be all about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. The rest of it, whatever, I don't know. Like I was actually kind of excited because I was like, "Oh, Zatanna book," and then I was like, "Oh, this is 4 of 7 or whatever." I'm like, "No, thank you."
Yeah.
And then there's like Ace the Bat Hound issue 8 of 2000. I'm like, what? Why is there so many? But okay, man, you just want to do we're probably gonna end on this thing, right? Since it's,
if you want,
I mean, it's the big book where Batgirls is like the plucky underdog that's better.
right. Okay, so Batgirls number 5, it's by Becky Cloonan, Michael W. Conrad, and Jorge Corona on the art, with Sarah Stern on colors. I personally like this. It was cool to see all of the Batgirls doing stuff. The only kind of beef I had was that they built up these villains and then Barbara comes in and she's just like wham bams, thank you ma'am, takes care of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of, but it's also at the same time, it's like it's those 3 guys, and then it's like Barbara, Steph, and Cass all team up, and they're also using tech, so Barbara can stop them and stuff. And it's like, I thought it was kind of neat where it's just like, oh yeah, this is how good 3 Batgirls are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I loved it. It just kind of seemed like a quick fight is all.
Yeah, that's been the whole issue for me with this book, where it's like they're trying to do too much per issue. Like I think these guys could have been one thing themselves, and then like this other stuff going on could have been its other thing all in itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main downside to this book. But this issue I had so much fun reading, and like this art, like the way they draw, I'm normally kind of like critical of it, but Babs looks so good in this art, like as Batgirl. Like when she comes in on the motorbike, looks awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was.
And
just,
also, but no, sorry, finish your thought.
No, it was just a lot of fun. The way it was written, the way it was drawn, I'm enjoying it, and I even enjoy the little like the way they do their it's not inner monologues, but like the narrators talking. I thought that I think that's fun too.
I love that after they take Fido, that he like gives facial expressions and talks in leet speech. I think that's hilarious and awesome.
Yeah.
Like I smiled every time I was reading him, saying something. So really glad that they did that. And then also we're really starting to get to Spellbinder at the end, which I'm looking forward to what all he's going to do against the Batgirls, because he sure does look pretty cool.
He looks awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, I really like this though. I'm at like an 8.5, I think.
That's actually exactly what I was thinking too. So because there's little things like we said that are like kind of gripes, but it is just a really good time. And
this is always this solid. Like
yeah,
it doesn't go up and down like some other titles that we read.
Yeah. Like hopefully Kaiju scores only up from here. I'll say that.
Right.
All right. So Flashpoint Beyond, and this is by Jeff Johns and who was the artist?
Eduardo Risso.
Yeah, Eduardo Risso. Art in it is very nice. The story just seemed pretty pointless. What did you think of it, though, man?
Yeah, if I were smart, I'd have reread Flashpoint, but then I thought I don't want to reread Flashpoint, so I didn't.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't. I don't think. I don't think it was a bad book. I just read it and thought, okay. The only thing that did just bug the crap out of me is the part with Barry, right? Barry gets electrocuted. Spoiler alert. um, because Thomas Wayne is trying to redo this whole experiment, flash experiment thing. But then Thomas truly believes that this assassin guy is to blame and not himself. Thomas
because
killed him.
well, he sort of did, but sort of didn't, because
Dude,
he had everything set up just like last time to give Barry his powers back.
okay, but it didn't work. And
Because the guy shot the things before it.
it's still, he was only in that situation because Thomas put him there.
That's true. But at the same time, Thomas is a crazy person.
I agree. It just bothers me.
My thing that bothers me is that it very much seems like Bruce Wayne recreated the Flashpoint universe for his daddy. That's what it seems like they're getting at. And it's like, this can cause all sorts of problems. And Bruce is just basically like, I don't care. I want my dad. And it's just like, you're not even around him. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's so out of character. And it's like one of those things where, like, Jeff Johns writing Batman is a lot like me doing my Batman voice. No one wants it, and it's not any good. But we do it anyway.
Right. Dude, it goes back to what I complain about all the time. If Jeff is in this high position, we're just going to get force fed more fucking Flashpoint over and over and over again. We don't need it.
No, I agree.
But you know, I thought it's kind of a light week. I'll just throw it in and we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be good. And you know, it wasn't. But Eduardo Risso, though, good artist.
Yeah, art's great. I just think the fact that I don't know, they could have done things a lot better, and I like that they're still trying to like justify the nonsense of Tom King's Batman run of being like, nah, it's Thomas Wayne from Flashpoint universe that wants to stop Bruce from being Batman. And like, they're at least trying to like make that make sense, because that came out of left field when I was reading it. It never made any sense to me. If you're listening to this and you're like, actually, Casey, it made a lot of sense because Tom King was in the CIA. And then, you know, then you break it down from there, and they're like, oh, there you go. Sorry, I missed those important details. But it really just made zero sense to me that whole time, where it's like, nah, Bane wasn't the bad guy. He was actually naked wrestling Thomas Wayne. And, you know, it was weird.
Okay, well, what would you rate it?
Probably like, I'm gonna say like a 4.5. I didn't have high expectations. I was expecting probably like a 2. So yeah. Like it's better than I expected. The art's really good, but it still was just kind of like the most pointless book I've read in a while.
Yeah.
And these are comic books. They're all pointless. So, you know.
I'll probably give it like a 5. It was just like right in the middle.
Yeah. Well, what are you excited about next week, man?
For me, I'm gonna say Batman the Knight, as well as World's Finest #2. And then it's been a long time. So it's been a while since we had a We Don't Kill Spiders. So I'm gonna say We Don't Kill Spiders is the third one.
So I'm gonna go the finale of Blue and Gold, Catwoman Lonely City, and then a little bit of Hulk in there because I don't want too much DC.
Right on.
All right. And since, you know, we got 2 pretty hyped up trailers this week, so it's got me thinking, just, let's just make up movies, and like what would be 4 trailers for comic book movies that you made up that you'd want to see, and what would you want in them outside of Dick Grayson's dump truck butt?
I would want, like, and this is assuming it would be good.
Yeah.
Right. I would want the Ballad of Beta Ray Bill. Because I had to give a good Thor story after watching the trailer today. Also, I think it'd be cool to do like an Under the Red Hood live action.
Yeah.
I think it, for the average Joes watching, it would be like Winter Soldier, where they don't know it's Jason Todd, and when that's revealed, it would be like an exciting thing.
I was thinking the other day, and this isn't to interrupt and make things last longer, but how cool would it be if like since it's like the movie verse, if like the next Matt Reeves Batman, we got Dick Grayson, and the next one after that, we just got Jason Todd, because it's like, oh, it's been X amount of years. Jason Todd, Dick is now Nightwing, like that type of thing. We just did that every single movie until we got, as many Robins as, he has now.
I would love that, because if you think about it, movie takes, like, if they jumped right into working on the next one, be like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
At that point, we're talking like a decade of Robert Pattinson being Batman. They need to do stuff that fast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then oh yeah, we get Dick Grayson. Now we can do a Nightwing spin-off with him in Bloodhaven.
Right.
Open up his cake shop with Catwoman.
And speaking of stuff like that, it's criminal that we haven't had a proper Robin yet in these movies. Like, give us like Robin year
Chris
one or
O'Donnell,
something.
sir.
I said proper.
And I said Chris O'Donnell.
So Robin Year One by Chuck Dixon, and I think Scott Beatty was the artist. But yeah, that. And I'll try to give out. I'm gonna go Northlanders, which was one of my favorite Vertigo books, or like Sandman Mystery Theater would be dope. Just something like that, like a cool crime noir. Yeah. What about you?
I'll just try to. I'm trying to think of like some Marvel stuff just to even out, because we did a lot of DC talk in there.
Well, it's because we like them more.
I think if I had complete creative control and kept away from anyone else seeing it but me, Nova would be just super cool. Get a nice Nova trailer. And I always love trailers where like it ends with the big reveal. So like it could be like a big Guardian of the Galaxy type movie, and then it's just like they're about to die, and then like Nova, stops him, and they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm the last member of the Nova Corps." And then they got that type of thing. Be pretty sweet.
Agreed.
And then like I really think a Kyle Rayner Parallax. So like a lot of people hate Parallax, but I friggin' love it, because I was like at the right age when that happened for me to go, this is super cool. So I think that would be really cool. And I think Death of Superman and the Reign of the Superman would be an amazing thing done in like, a 2-movie span to 3-movie span, not just rushed like it was in the, these other movies. But I think that'd be super cool, and like if the trailer, it had Doomsday, and then also like it would end with like, just because like it show Superman's death, so everyone knows Superman dies, and then it would end with like the cyborg Superman holding the flag in the trailer. Like, how cool would that be?
It'd be so cool.
And then trying to think of like another. Then let's just go all the way out there. I'll be super crazy. Be having a trailer. Be showing some Superman over here, some Hulk over here, some Batman here, some Captain America here, and then they just all start fighting, and then it ends with DC versus Marvel.
Dude, it would shatter every movie record ever established.
Right? And be awesome.
Cool. Well, hey, that brings us to the end of the episode, folks. So if you would, please go to facebook.com/2worldspodcast and give the page a like. You can also follow us on Twitter at 2_worlds_PC. and on Instagram at Two Worlds Pod. You can email us at twoworldspodcast@gmail.com. And if you would, please find us on YouTube at Two Worlds Podcast and subscribe to the channel. Maybe let us know what movie you want to see happen.
Yeah, or if my Batman voice is good.
Or that. All right, guys. Well, we'd love to stay and chat, but Casey has to go crush me every chance he gets. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.